And search they did. They opened old tins and jars, they emptied out drawers, and they peered into cupboards. But no avail. No key labelled Lighthouse could be found. "I'll just have to cycle into the village and alert the Coast Guard," said Mr. Grinling. "No time," said Mrs. Grinling. "Look at that sky. You'll never get there before dark, and you haven't got a light on your bike. But I've got an idea. A perfectly brilliant idea." While Mr. Grinling looked on, Mrs. Grinling rushed about the little white cottage, gathering up all manner of things. She put everything she had collected into a large sack. She weighed the sack, and then she weighed Mr. Grinling. Mr. Grinling began to feel nervous. He wasn't quite sure why. By the time Mrs. Grinling had attached the sack to the pulley and sent it down the wire, Mr. Grinling was biting his fingernails and muttering to himself. Mrs. Grinling smiled happily. "That worked perfectly," she said. "Your turn now." Mr. Grinling's legs became quite wobbly, and he had to sit down quickly in the chair. "Me?" he squeaked. On that wire all the way to the lighthouse? You know I'm terrified of thunder and lightning, Mrs. Grinling. How could you suggest such an idea on a night like this?" Mrs. Grinling spoke to him in a stern voice. "You must be brave, Mr. Grinling. Think of your poor little Hamish, all alone in the dark. Think of all those ships that might be lost because your light isn't shining." Mr. Grinling shuddered. "Of course, you're quite right. I must be brave. I am the lighthouse keeper, and come rain or shine, I must tend that light." Without further ado, Mr. Grinling climbed into his wet weather gear, fastened the harness around himself, and attached it to the pulley. A quick glance back at his comfortable armchair, a big kiss of luck from Mrs. Grinling, and out he swung into the dark, wet night. Mrs. Grinling watched until Mr. Grinling became a tiny speck in the darkness. The minutes ticked by and nothing happened. Mrs. Grinling became quite agitated. Why was it taking so long? Had something happened to Mr. Grinling? At last she was able to uncross her fingers and smile again. Her plan had worked. Mr. Grinling and Hamish were safe, for there it was for all the ships to see, the light shining steadily and bravely across the ocean. There we go, the lighthouse keeper's